Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 251 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on March 12th, 2025. How are all you folks doing? It's so late. I hope you're doing well. Things are good on this end. It's extremely busy. Tons of testing going on. I just had a wonderful powerlifting workout. I'm super amped. Right now. There have been insane things happening on the silencer internet today. Sometimes, it got away from me, and I decided to look at the silencer internet, and this is what I get. What I saw today was consumers showing that there are still wild performance claims being made by folks who sell silencers. And the consumers are ending up with some disappointing performance metrics when they buy those silencers. You know, it's happening less and less. After these 5 years of our effort, we're curtailed a lot of it. But of course, we can't help everybody. And, it's happening less. And you just can't stop it completely. Now, I will say, the great part about it is that the consumers are getting smarter. And that has always been the goal, to raise the bar, right? And the bar has been raised, ladies and gentlemen. I can assure you of that. And I'm really proud of the consumers who have participated. I really am. I couldn't be prouder, actually. It actually warms my heart to see the consumers that don't get hoodwinked because they're using good information. That's the whole dang point of this whole thing. So I'm really excited about that. So it was kind of a little bit of a roller coaster. You look at the stuff, you see what's happening, you're like, oh, what a mess. And then you realize, oh, well, but there's some light at the end of the tunnel in some of these cases. And so that does warm your heart at the end of it. So it ends up being a happy ending, but you're reminded when you see this of what's the word? You're reminded of the malfeasance of some of these entities that prey on the consumer to make money. And that's not cool, right? So yeah, anyway, enough about that. I just did want to mention it because it's real. Now, this episode is a day later than our usual Wednesday, and that is because things are nuts. So today what we're going to do, Today, what we're going to do, we're going to hit the technical discussion of the Centurion Arms Maximus-L on the Mark 18. That paper was released last week. If we have time, I want to hit some other stuff, like some new testing discussion, but I don't know that we're going to have time today. It's pretty late. And so, in which case, if we do not get to that stuff, what I'm going to do, I'm going to say that for next week anyway, because we're going to have more test data analysis for you next week too, so it'll kind of dovetail anyway. That'll be okay. Okay, sound good? All right, let's get on with the show. So it'll just be that one topic, and what we'll do is I'll put timestamps in a way as we go through this talk. Maybe I can break it up a little bit because I might ramble, might not. You never know what you can get. Hey, this podcast is free. Relax. On with the show. If you've been here before, hey, welcome back. Thanks for listening. It's awesome. If you're new to the podcast, buckle up. Welcome. We're glad to have you. And if you like silencers and silencer physics, you're in the right place. So there are going to be timestamps in the episode description. Like I just said, no matter where you're listening, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, wherever, you can skip to wherever you would like, okay? If you want to hang around with me a little bit longer before we start the topics, I'm going to read some ads so I can pay for the podcast. Is that cool? All right. This episode is brought to you by Legion Athletics, and we're about to renew our contract with Legion, actually. They are awesome. How cool is that? I just powerlifted. Literally the stimulant that I'm on right now is the Pulse pre-workout from Legion, like the orange flavor. I think it's called Blood Orange. Amazing. I also use their some post-workout stuff, some intro workout stuff. I use their creatine now. They have micronized creatine. If you are serious about a trade or task or activity, you have to do things all the time to be good at them. All right? Legion Athletics can help you with that with regard to fitness. They don't have everything you need, but like I said, I'm using quite a lot. I'm also using their whey protein when I want a quick protein shake. I mean, it's really good, man. It's all natural stuff. They're really scientific back. They're evidence-based, just like Pew Science. That's one of the reasons why Legion Athletics gets along with the Pew Science Laboratory. And our relationship has been so great. So anyway, use the code word Pew Science when you go to legionathletics.com. You will save a lot of money. And if the first time you use it, you get 20% off. Every subsequent time is 10%. Okay, get strong. It's important. Legion. Silencer Shop also sponsors this podcast. You guys know who that is. They're the largest distributor of silencers in the world. Okay, so Silencer Shop endorsing this should be a big deal to you. All right, use their kiosk, do your fingerprints and photos electronically, and in turn, you cut down on errors. You simplify your silencer purchasing process. You get a money-back guarantee. It's very good. You don't pay a transfer fee. You seldom will have paperwork errors. It's just you and your silencer with no drama. Truly, silencer ownership simplified. I mean, they pioneered that game, didn't they? And speaking of, there's a Silencer Shop dealer in Houston named Top Gun Range. They have an indoor shooting range. It has 15 lanes. You can rent all the guns. You can shoot the machine guns on your business trip. Whatever, dude. Go nuts. Also, you can rent silencers. It's awesome. Check out their inventory at topgunrange.com and Instagram at topgunrange. Also, there's Capital Armory. They're in Austin, and they just had a silencer shoot. I think they call it Quiet in the Capitol. That's pretty cool. Capital Armory is cool because one thing you can do when you interact with them and through Palmetto State Armory also, you can get sponsorship directly to your door, which is pretty wild. So let's say you're like, watching Netflix and like, your wife wants to watch something. You're like, okay, we can watch this, but then it's kind of like dumb. So you're like, start looking at silencers on your phone. Hey, I can't blame you. Let's say you're in your living room and you order a silencer from Capital Armory. You're going to have that silencer delivered to that same living room. Isn't that nuts? That's right. If you live in one of the 42 states where silencers are legal, you can order a silencer and have it shipped to your door. Okay? Capital Armory. Finally, this podcast is brought to you by the Pew Science Laboratory. Started this thing 5 years ago. We're coming up on our 5th anniversary later this month. And as the technical director, it's my responsibility to continue to sponsor this podcast in the name of public education. Okay? We run a public research effort for you. Our goal is to push the silencer industry forward one test at a time. That's our tagline. I said it the first day of this, and I'm saying it now. Okay? Visit pewscience.com for the suppression rating. It's the simplest, most accurate hearing-safe rating for suppressed small arms based on true human inner ear response of the entire gunshot from before the combustion takes place all the way until all the combustion is gone. There's 7 sections of the standard. The most in-depth and accurate silencer data analysis in the entire world. It's available to the public 24/7 at pewscience.com. I'll be at a university giving a lecture about this later this month too. If you're into that, contact me. I'll tell you where. You can support this podcast, Pew Science, and all the public testing that we do by joining with a membership at pewscience.com. That would really help. And you can donate too. If you're into that like one-time thing on the review page, the podcast page, every little bit helps. And if you don't want to spend any money, that's cool. You don't have to spend any money. Just like, subscribe, give us a solid. Share it with your friends. Let folks know that silencers and guns are awesome. All right, let's see. How are we going to do this? Let's do topic 1. That's what we'll do. Let's see. Man, I am like cooking, man. This pre-workout is like, it's strong. The thing about the Legion pre-workout, one second. The thing about the Legion pre-workout is it has caffeine, obviously, but it has this other compound in it that I think I've told you about before that kind of like normalizes I don't know if it normalizes the release of the caffeine to your system or it normalizes the effects. So it's not a huge spike and it's not a huge drop, a crash. It's just like a steady, constant energy source like a nuclear reactor. Let's do topic 1. Oh my God, he's losing his mind. Topic 1, introduction at a time of 8 minutes and 55 seconds. That went longer than I thought it would. Topic 1, Sound Signature Review 6180. The Centurion Arms Maximus-L on the 5.56 standard untuned Mark 18. It's another hybrid design and another dedicated 5.56 model in the pedigree. There's no shortage of those. And this is the technical discussion for the report that was published last week that you guys have had a full week to read, which is a long time, or can be. Yeah. Another silencer for the Mark 18. Every time we get close to 30 at the shooter's ear on this host weapon, and when I say like 30, I mean a suppression rating of 30. Every time we get close to a suppression rating of 30 at the shooter's ear, 6 inches right of the shooter's right ear in the true free field, every time we get close to that, it is an immediate cue for you folks to pay a little more attention, isn't it? And then when you look at the muzzle suppression rating of, and then you see things getting close to 40 or maybe even getting to 40, like in, I think this one got close to 40. You look at that, you start to look closer. You're like, oh my God, okay, it's getting close to 30 at the ear, getting close to 40 at the muzzle. Okay. So you start to look closer. And I think we're starting to see some thresholds that really stand out here. And when your data set gets big enough, it starts to become more powerful. You start to examine trends. Have you guys been doing that? That's one of the powers of this. I told you years ago that would start to happen, and you just have to be patient. You just got to see the big picture. And so because we've sort of gone through different phases of Pew Science over the past 5 years. I'm going to talk about that. You can always skip ahead if you don't want to listen. Okay? No. But I want to tell you, this is important. You got to understand this stuff. These phases. Okay, the first phase of this entire thing, it was surprise, right? And people had no idea what was going on, and they didn't even realize what gunshots and suppressed gunshots were physically. I can tell you right now, I talked to people, they had no idea what they're saying, no idea what they were seeing, what they were saying, what they were hearing, why they were hearing it, no idea in mass, and a lot of the public still liked that. But I'm telling you, nobody in the industry was understanding anything like at a large scale. That was surprise. That was the first phase. Second phase was excitement. Everyone loves this phase. I loved it. This is when people started to learn about it, and they're like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" And I was like, "I know you're sharing my excitement. Why do you think I'm so excited about it? Because it is amazing. Do you think I'm excited because I'm a crazy person? I mean, partly, but also it's awesome." Okay, so that's the second phase, excitement. What was the third phase? It was drama. It turns out, and this is a human element, which I didn't really think about it until it happened. What you start to realize when your presented data set is really small, relatively small, the high-ranking systems and the low-ranking systems become very political. Okay, and all of a sudden, everyone is a shill, and everything is a conspiracy, and the sky is falling, and you get so upset. And this third phase is not quite dead yet, of course, because, remember, it's a human element, so it's not going to be dead, because there's always going to be people doing this. But it's dying. It's in the death throes now. There's a fourth phase. The fourth phase was, I think, the realization of huge research potential. This was something that I think some folks don't realize happened, but it was showcased publicly. And this was actually a huge phase of the effort. And this is when people on a large scale realized the silencers showcased in our white papers, along with all the technical analysis we present, could actually help you make better silencers. That's right. This is when the designers started to really latch on. And that's huge. And if you're in the industry, you know that's true. You cannot deny that. Okay, because love it or hate it, started showing what certain technologies were doing. It's true. And so that was crazy. That was the fourth phase. And the fifth phase, which I think we're in now, is the full speed arms race phase. It is. We're the accepted benchmark for consumer silencer performance. Okay, it's the NHRA. So folks are not only fluent in the use of the standard rankings on the website, but they have their own personal desired benchmarks. And that's kind of what I was alluding to when you get to that 30 at the shooter 0 on the standard untuned Mark 18, when you get to that 40 at the muzzle on the standard untuned Mark 18 with the silencer. And people have their own benchmarks. We talked about this. Okay, let's talk about it more. Let's do this. I'm going to try to split this up for you. Let's do that one. Let's do a time of 14 minutes and 25 seconds. I'm going to try to make this digestible. Okay, so you look at metrics, right? These metrics we give you. I really want you guys to understand this. What are these metrics good for? Everyone talks about, well, just numbers and dirt. No. Let's talk about it. Remember, some of you might remember this. Remember when we talked about 308 bolt gun silencers several years ago? And I told you my own personal threshold for shooter zero suppression rating for hunting deer, and how sitting on the ground in the ground blind versus being in a tall stand, like for example, those situations would change your risk due to ground reflection, things like that. We talked about that. We talked about it in detail. Like I used numbers and examples and brands and hunting experience and personal experience. The same exact thing is happening with 5.56 AR right now with the Mark 18. Did you know that? It is. Now, sure, the shooter zero suppression rating on a suppressed Mark 18, it's lower, yeah, than the bullet guns are. Yeah, and that's true. But people who have shot a lot of different silencers that have also been tested by Pew Science, those people understand what to expect when certain suppression ratings hit certain levels. And you can know, like with a high degree of confidence, that if a suppression rating of the shooter zero on an untuned Mark 18 approaches 30, there is something going on in the system allowing for a lower ejection port blast. Like that's a physical thing, you know. You can count on that. What are the symptoms of lower ejection port blast loads? There less gas in your face, less blast pressure on your face, a gun that doesn't overfunction, right? And you know that. Why do you know this? Because it's real. It's a real phenomena. Or they are real phenomena. Okay? It's not subjective. It's not opinion. It's not a guess. It's not how you're feeling that day. It's not up to interpretation. It's literally quantifiable, verifiable, repeatable fact. All day, every day, twice on Sunday. That's it. It's reality. So if something, what if, let's keep going. What if something reduces blast from the ejection port and it's less gassy? It's like, you have that part. But then what about adjacent to the muzzle? Well, when you get to around 40 on this Mark 18, on this short barrel 5.56 AR, you start to notice some wild things start to happen in the sound field. You really do. This is when your system starts to sound less like a really loud 5.56 gun like folks are used to, and it starts to sound odd. To someone who's never been around a suppressed short barrel AR-15 with a high performance silencer, I can assure you it will sound odd to you. It's a very odd thing for a human to hear it, like the suppression of a high velocity centerfire rifle cartridge to levels that are this suppressed. I can tell you this personal experience. I have witnessed special operations personnel shooting silencers with this type of rating for the first time after shooting their old silencers like back to back, and I saw them just staring dumbfounded at the weapon. Dumbfounded. They just could not believe what was happening. These are killers, dude. These are people who literally, they kick in doors and shoot people in the face, and they use silencers and stuff. And they put a lot of rounds through training, through the thing in train, and they just look at the gun. They're like, "What was that?" And I'm like, "Let me tell you what it was." And it's like one of my greatest joys, whether it be a consumer that's teaching their kid to shoot for the first time, or it's some scary dude that looks unassuming but is just terrifying to me, that is getting a new kit for their whatever they're doing, and they're almost like a child giddy because it's so dang cool, and I get to see that joy, and I will say that's where the magic happens, and I don't want to tell you this because I want you to have real context for the data. And this is the 180th article. There's over 200 discrete data points in the ranking section. The data set's big enough to where you can draw big conclusions because you have a lot of data. It's time to look at trends. All right, now let's look at this. Maximus-L. Let's talk about how it's stacking up to the competition. Before we get super technical, let's take big picture. Let's keep doing that at a time of 19 minutes. 24 seconds. This is dumb. We have way too many timestamps, whatever. I had planned to do it, so I'm doing it. So, Centurion Arms Maximus-L. One second. It's like, what in tarnation? It's another one. And it's another one of these things. And I did something earlier. I was messing with this after the gym. I went to the members ranking section at pewscience.com. I looked at the visualization tool, but below the rankings table, it's the scatter plot for members. Please, if you're a member, if you haven't seen that, just go to it. It's important for you to visualize this, I think. I'm a very visual person. That's why it helps me. I went to that chart and I just selected Mark 18. Okay. And when you do that, the whole big scatter plot shrinks to this little pack. Why would that be? Well, you know why it is, but let's talk about it. You form this little pack of dots. And remember, it's a two-dimensional plot. You got horizontal axis is the suppression rating at the muzzle, right? Yeah, the vertical axis is the suppression rating in the shooter's ear. So it's a two-dimensional plot, and you plot. And if you really, really want to think, you'll get overwhelmed if you actually think what it's showing you, because it's using two dimensions, but the dot for each silencer actually contains millions and millions of data points that computed the suppression rating. So each dot represents like a cornucopia. It's almost fractal in its nature. Okay, and I don't want to get too far off track, but I want you to appreciate the fractal nature of what you're looking at. So you select Mark 18. Your data set shrinks to this little pack. And there's 54 data points in that little pack of Mark 18, because I think we have 54 Mark 18 data points out of the 200 and whatever total ones presented to you. So like a quarter of the damn data set is this Mark 18, right? So you got this thing. And you look at that pack, and what's that little wild outlier in the top left? It's that damn Flow 556K, the one of the most controversial silencers of your generation. Why is it an outlier? It really protects the operator in the free field, but it's pretty hazardous at the muzzle. That's right. That's why it is where it is on the chart. Now, if you shift all the way to the right on that, what are you going to see? You're going to see that Huxworks was actually able to correct the deficiency with the full-size version of the silencer. It's almost a direct horizontal translation on the plot. Right? It's impressive when you think about what's involved with doing that physically. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why when I tell you that Huxworks flow-through is a unique technology, and other silencers from other companies that also have a high flow rate are not flow-through, this is why I'm saying that. The technology simply works differently than others, and I don't think there's another pair of points on this data plot that allows you to do what that technology does. When I put it like this, I hope it helps you understand what I'm trying to get across. Scaling up the muzzle suppression performance while keeping the shooter's ear suppression performance on untuned Mark 18 high is not only difficult, but it is rare in practicality. It is rare in the pedigree. It is rare for the technologies. It really is. Like, for example, if you look at a polonium and a polonium K, they have that type of transition on the chart, but their shooter's ear suppression ratings are around 20. They're not around 30. So it's a different sport. You see what I mean? They aren't operating at a high flow rate. It's a different animal, different physics. You cannot compare the transition. Okay, so keep going. What happens when you get up toward that 30 zone at the shooter's ear, and then you get near or above maybe 35 at the muzzle? What happens? What type of stuff is there? Look at the chart yourself if you're a member. I'll tell you if you're not a member, what type of stuff is there? CAT stuff, PTR stuff, the bigger Huxworks flow stuff. And now, you guessed it, Centurion arms stuff. Ah, there it is. You wonder when I was getting to that. Yeah. So you see, like, Centurion arms didn't just come to play. Like, hey guys, what's up? Can I play with silencers too? No. They came to play with the heavy hitters. They did. That's only 4 companies total in the data set right now that I'm talking about. CAT, PTR, Huxworks, and Centurion arms. Only 4 of the companies on the standard untuned Mark 18, only 4 of the companies are balancing performance to this high level. Full stop objectively. And if you are upset that I missed your favorite brand, I am sorry. I have to make the cutoff somewhere with the numbers. Okay, this is not... I'm talking close to 30 at the shooter's ear and close to 35 or higher at the muzzle. That's where the magic happens, baby. Okay? I am telling you, you got to leave your emotions at the door with regard to brand loyalty. We got to just leave that at the door. These are widgets. They're not people. Okay? So you look in this group and then you start to down select, right? You're like, okay, obviously all of these things have high performance objectively. These 4 companies are doing work clearly. Nobody can argue against it. Even if you don't like the companies, it doesn't matter. The technology objectively has high performance. Then you start looking at traits. What else? Length, weight, mounting capability, durability, flash reduction, price, all kinds of stuff, right? Well, when you look at the Maximus-L, let's go over the physical traits really quick. Again, so from last week, we kind of looked at these, but let me remind you, because I just gave you a big picture overview. Now let's get a little detailed. 6.2 inches long. Okay. 6.4 inches with the direct thread mount. Is that right? 6.4 inches, right? Yeah, you put a little Reardon titanium direct thread mount in there if you want, or whatever you want. 6.4 inches long. Okay, not big. Not big. It's a full-size 5.56 silencer, but it's not big. How long is an RC2? It's got to be around the same length. I don't remember, dude. You can look. You have the data. It's 1.62 inches in diameter. Not that big, dude. Not that big. Inconel. 3D printed Inconel at that. The whole thing. It's monolithic. It's a monocore. I know that'll trigger you. It's fine. So it's probably durable, right? Monolithic Inconel. It's probably not like going to fall apart in your hands most of the time. And really, don't use conjecture. If you want to believe the manufacturer, which you probably could on this, they say they SOCOM surge schedule tested this thing multiple times. They vouch for it. I'm not sure Monty at Centurion Arms would lie about that. I don't know that he has a reason. He wouldn't put his reputation on the line like that. That guy's he's pretty solid. Seemed like a pretty solid dude to me for the little time I've known him. I mean, I guess anyone could lie, but I don't know why he would lie about that. That's crazy. That he's like literally saying like, well, it does this. So then if he sent it to a solicitation and they did that and it didn't, he'd be like, what? Right? So like that's something you can prove or disprove. You understand? You can do it yourself if you really wanted to. What else? Oh yeah, 14 ounces with no mount. So that's less than a pound. That's light, dude. It's Inconel. Okay. Now, members. You stay in that tool, right? You stay in that scatter plot. Go filter by length and weight in the tool. Okay. Now put a max length of 6.5 inches in that tool, and then a max weight of a pound, 16 ounces. Now look at the group. Not only is this silencer smaller, look how far away the Centurion Arms data point is sitting from the other data points in that group now. You see what I mean? You see what I mean, Jelly Bean? They didn't just come to hang out and say, what's up? They didn't come out and say, just drink a beer and leave the party early or whatever. Nah, dude. They are objectively outperforming a significant amount of silencers on the market and doing so in a lighter and smaller envelope. And it's also more durable in many cases. Okay, so that is my broad overview for you. And what is that? It's 29 minutes now. We did not start at 19 minutes. That's a 10-minute, quick 10 minutes of just big picture. Okay, cool. Now, let's do a deep dive like lunatics at a time of 29 minutes and 22 seconds. He's crazy. He's scaring us. Well, you should be scared. Now, 1 second. The stuff I see nowadays, like anonymous internet accounts, talking about, dude, just don't even go on the internet sometimes. But you have to, because you got to get information. That world runs on the internet now. So what are you going to do? You just got to like... Now that I have your attention, let's dig into some nerd stuff. Please pull up report 6180 on pewscience.com. It is the latest article published. As always, you can follow along at home just fine if you like. If you're a member, please pull up the member article. It will help you. If you're not a member, that's cool. No problem. No man, woman, or child left behind. Pull up the free version, and you can follow along just fine. I'm not going to leave you hanging, dude. Bottom line up front, 39.8 suppression rate at the muzzle at the mill standard measurement location of 1 meter left of the end cap, 1.6 meters above the ground, away from all reflecting surfaces other than the ground, in the true free field. That's pretty high. We just talked about it. 28.5, 6 inches right of the shooter's right ear. Okay, that's pretty high. We just talked about it. This brings us to a composite suppression rate of 40.3 for the Maximus-L on the standard untuned Mark 18 AR-15 with an H2 buffer, a carbine buffer spring, an 070 gas port, 10.3-inch barrel, buttstock in position 4 of 6, M193 ammunition. That's all of the test parameters. Now, immediately, before we get into the data plots, what is the immediate thing you should note, big picture, about the suppression rating metrics I just told you? Like, what should stand out to you like a sore thumb? This silencer, like I told you earlier, it's actually doing really well at the shooter's ear, yeah? So what does that tell you? It tells you, by its nature, that the AR-15 is dangerous to the operator. Oh, no. Yeah. Why? Well, because of ejection port blast. Inherently, this is a standard untuned rifle. It's not overgassed, per se, but it's untuned. What does that mean? It means you haven't shrunk the gas port until you got a malfunction, then open a little more so it just has enough gas to cycle. No, you're feeding the rifle a reasonable amount of gas impulse. It's eating. It's doing well. This is how it comes off the shelf. This is what armorers are giving to their personnel in police departments and military units with an H2 buffer. The end. The end. You understand? Okay, cool. I just want to make sure like these numbers are in context for you. Like in reality, like we're not talking about an MP5. We're not talking about a suppressed 22. We're not talking about a suppressed centerfire handgun. We're talking about a 10.3-inch short barrel AR-15 with a silencer. Different risk for the operator. Different sport. Can you get the same operator risk with some of those other guns I just mentioned? If your silencers are terrible, yes. More on that to come, probably. I'm sorry to disappoint you and say something negative about reality. But of course, you know what? Should I do this? Do I have time? Do it. I'm going to do it right now. Ranking section. I'm doing it. I'm going to rankings, pewscience.com/rankings. I'm going to sort by shooter's ear suppression rating descending. Then I'm going to go to the shooter's ear suppression rating slider. And what's the thing on this? 28.5? I'm going to go all the way to 28.5. All the way down to 28. Oh, I can't. Can I? Oh, I can hard code that, can't I? I can if I 28.5. You can. Huh. 28.5. Well, Centurion Arms Maximus-L is at the top of the list because I put descending. Okay, that's a Mark 18. I see a lot of bolt action rifles here. Okay, maybe I like overblow that. No, everything on. Okay, there's actually 75 records in this table. There's 75 records that are 28.5 at the ear and below on every weapon system shown. The first page looks like it's all bolt actions and ARs. But if it's a bolt action rifle and it's less than 28.5 at the shooter's ear and the bolt action rifle doesn't have ejection port blast, what does that tell you is happening? Not something good. Not something good. Okay? When you have two sources of major blast overpressure, the muzzle and the ejection port, and you're still doing better at the shooter's ear than a bolt gun with the silencer, then that tells you that something on the bolt gun is too loud. Like, I don't know, 28.1 at the shooter's ear is a Razor 7.62 on a 308 bolt gun. Why do people get disappointed with that? Well, You understand? I'm not trying to pick on Rugged, but, Resonator K, same thing, 27. Come on, guys. Let's go to the next page of the rankings. What's on there? Oh, it's all supersonic. Oh, so Surefire SOCOM 762 Mini 2. Okay, 23.5 on the bolt action 308 at the ear. That's bad. What else we got that's bad? Bolt action. Helios QD vented. That's a nightmare. 20.9 at the shooter. That on the bolt action. Okay, let's go. Let's see if there's more. Oh my God, I'm on the last page, and there's bolt guns. The loudest bolt gun at the shooter's ear. The loudest 762 is a SOCOM 762 RC2 with a war comp. I remember that test like it was yesterday. 17.8 at the shooter's ear. You know what I experienced? I shot that gun. That 17.8. Oh, I experienced that. For those of you new to Pew Science, I'm going to click on the article link to tell you when the date that was. We published that November 12th of 2020. That was the first year of Pew Science operation. I can tell you exactly what I experienced when there was a 17.8 suppression rating during the test. Thank my lucky stars I had safety glasses on, because I got peppered with particulates on a bolt gun because of the war comp blast load leak, and the shooter's ear waveforms displayed shock loads. We called Surefire and had a conference call with the designer of the silencer and the head of their suppressor division at the time to help us understand what on earth was happening, because we didn't understand what a war comp was because we weren't Surefire guys. Okay, so I know I went on this tangent, but I want to tell you, the AR-15 is dangerous to the operator because there's ejection port blast load coming out near your face. But still, when the silencer is advanced on the standard untuned Mark 18 and you get to a 28.5, brother, review 626 of the Surefire SOCOM 762 RC2 on a 20-inch bolt action 308. The muzzle suppression rating with a flash hider that's not even a war comp is 27.7. So what I'm telling you is 1 meter left of a 762 RC2 on a bolt gun is actually more dangerous than the ejection port blast to the operator of a Centurion Arms Maximus-L on a Mark 18. Now remember, these comparisons are real. And why? Because the suppression rating allows you to compare those two risks. And the shape of the waveforms are so complex, you cannot do that with PeakDB. You see what I'm saying? So I just went back to November 12th of 2020, and I could tell you about personnel risk and put it in context of March 12th, 2025, talking about the Centurion Arms Maximus-L on a Mark 18, and the numbers are comparable. Okay? Because it's not a simple peak. It is a holistic analysis of the whole time history, of the whole damn blast pressure signature. So I just wanted to give you guys this. I know I'm going off on a tangent, but it's like super important. All right. So again, what I got done saying before I went all crazy on you is, can you get the same operator risk as the Centurion Arms on a silencer on a Mark 18 with other hosts that might be quiet with other silencers? Yes, if your silencers are really loud. So pay attention. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm done. Now, scroll down. I'm going to look at some. So go back to the article, 6180. Let's look at some stuff. Nerd stuff. Remember data plots. Scroll all the way down to, not all the way down, but past the table. That doesn't help you. Figure 1. 1 second. Okay, figure 1, please. Figure 1A and figure 1B. It's important because this is straight up hybrid territory. We haven't talked about that yet this podcast, but we will. I'm gonna challenge your brain. This is hybrid territory, and you can tell right away. How can you tell? If I told you the silencer had a bunch of holes around its outer diameter with spirals inside and 36 vents on the end, and you went and ran to the article to look at the data plot in figure 1, and that's all I told you, and you didn't know what else was in the silencer, you would immediately call me a liar. You'd be like, you're a dirty, rotten liar. You're lying. You can't have 36 holes in the end and have a signature like in figure 1A and figure 1B. It's impossible. You're a liar. You're a dirty, rotten liar. I mean, I wouldn't blame you, right? I'd call myself a liar too. Why? Because if it just had a bunch of vents in it with nothing else in the silencer, the blowdown would be super fast, the amplitude would be way higher, and when you looked at figure 1B, it wouldn't look like that at all, would it? No. You know, you want to know what it would look like? The positive phase, the initial propagation in figure 2B would be prolonged in a very big way, but it's not. And the blowdown in figure 1A would be way shorter, but it's not. And why not? Because it's a hybrid. This is a pure hybrid in every meaningful sense of the word. You literally have ported cones throughout the silencer. There's ported cones throughout the silencer. The first reflector, or the blast baffle, has double curvature, and it's ported. And after that, you have simple ported cone geometry. It's tried, it's true, just like apple pie ported cones. They work, they suppress, they're easy to draw. Okay? They're effective, they're trusted, they're cones. Now, ask Q, the silencer company, or the gun company, wherever they are, the firearms company. Why do you think they use cones so often? Is it because internet experts tell you they're stupid? No. It's because they have super smart engineers who make efficient things. And don't let their really inflammatory and fake marketing distract you from the fact that there are actually positive things about their designs. Sometimes for all the really horrible things that they do publicly, like that are inflammatory, don't forget physics, because you won't learn. I mean, really, for the 1000th time, ignore the marketing. Just ignore it completely. You are smart enough to now not care at all about the marketing of silencers. You do not need to care. Look at hard data and hard facts. Never be disappointed again. Never be disappointed again because your expectations are reasonable. Reality will never disappoint you if your expectations for the reality are set appropriately. That's life advice, dude. My mission with this company is to set your expectations. That will help you. I can only lead you to water. I can't drown you, although believe me, I want to sometimes. Okay, so back to cones. Cones can be awesome. But what's a really, really bad thing about ported cones? They still reflect shock loads. They still trap gas. And if you're in semi-auto land, which a lot of you are, SpaghettiOs. Spaghetti. No, you got to release some stagnation, and you have impulse from a blast load inside that first expansion chamber. Remember, it's rising in a hurry, and before you know it, your gun's gonna find out. And you just snuck a girl in your room where you were grounded, right? And you stuck a girl up there, and your parents are running up the stairs because they heard something. And bro, you got to think fast. You got to hide her. Where's she gonna go? Maybe under your bed. So maybe she can get out the window before your parents, or when your parents leave, and maybe in the annular space so the blast load can get out of the distal vents before the bolt carrier group gets pissed. Same thing, man. You see what I mean? You got to improvise. You got to adapt. You got to overcome, and that's the difference between a flow-through silencer from Huxworks and hybrids from basically everyone else trying to do high flow rate. And people couldn't infringe on the patents, right? So they started doing other stuff. And then they figured out they can't actually, do it exactly like Huxworks did, but they could actually get some more benefits if they did it a little bit differently. And, you use that tried and true cone design, you augment it, you enhance it, you give it a power up. And if you do it right, you get some good momentum control. You really do get some good momentum control like you see in Figure 2. Oh, I'm taking you back. Look at it. Look at Figure 2A and 2B now. You got to think about what you're doing here. I hope you understand this analogy I'm using. It's like you're surprising the system, and you don't want to surprise it too much. You got to relieve that stagnation in early time. You got to get that girl out of your room before your parents see her, dude. You're going to get in trouble. Your bolt carrier group's going to get pissed. When your parents blow up at you because they're pissed, that ejection port blast is loud. I'm just trying to put it in simple terms. Simplest of simple. Okay? You're like, I don't know. Why would my parents get mad if there's a girl? I don't know. I'm trying to make it relatable. I don't know if that's even a thing now. Probably, I don't know. Times are changing. Figure 2A and Figure 2B. Blast impulse in the free field. I want to explain something to you. There's no free lunch, and you need to understand it. And with great simplicity comes risk. But you want to ride the lightning. You want to get close to the sun. You don't want to fly too close to the sun, though. Check it out. If you have, maybe you can do this. If you're able, I want you to look in the first expansion chamber, the blast chamber of a Maximus-L. And I want you to look at the inner circumference of all the little holes in there. It's crazy. You see where they are. They're not super far forward, and they're not super far rearward. And I wish we could do a sensitivity study sometimes on certain design decisions. Like if you move something forward or just a little, like a quarter of an inch this way or a quarter of an inch that way, or maybe an eighth of an inch this way or eighth of an inch that way. And that does happen in Pew Science, but only when like people use our lab for R&D stages and see iterations. I digress, but you see those holes in this and where they're placed. If you looked inside, you'd see where they're placed, forward and aft. And there's 36 of them. I counted them. I could have counted wrong, but I think there's 36 of them. Now, you go to the outside of the silencer, and at the distal end where the bolt comes out, you shine a little cheap borescope up in those holes. And if you're careful, you can see something inside. If you're careful. There are little spiral geometries inside of each hole. And you look at that, and you're like, the mad lads put 36 spiral cavities around the outside of a ported cone stack and vented to the cavities immediately. It's almost as if they knew how silencers worked. It's like, what do you know, right? It's like, what do you know about Huxworks flow through and how it works? What is it? It's the flow path length increase. It's the turbulence. Both of those things are increasing the efficiency of heat transfer. That's really the name of the game. It's the name of the game of the efficacy of the flow through tech. What if you could use your normal ported cones as typical to trap gas, as we've all done for many years in the traditional sense, and then if you do an early bleed off in a way that you robbed enough heat in the vent stage that you didn't tank the signature, you would get exactly what you see in Figure 2, wouldn't you? You would, and you do, and it's crazy. Let's examine it. Shot 1, FRP, can't hide it. Why? Think about it. Extra air-fueled combustion, yeah? What did I just tell you? The girlfriend couldn't, she could jump out the window pretty quick if she wanted. You'd get her out of the room, right? I don't know, but what if you guys were doing some coke before your parents came in? Or Adderall, or whatever the kids do nowadays. I don't know what you do. I've seen crazy things. I don't know. Maybe she jumps up a little faster. She's a little hyperactive. That's that FRP. She had a path to exit, and boy, how did she take that exit? Now, shot 2. Things are back to normal. Maybe the high wore off. Less oxygen in the silencer to support the extra combustion. Now, that's typical. We all are familiar with that when things are okay and going well. Now, what's happening in the subsequent shots, though? Oh, they start to increase the momentum production. They do. But why do they do that? I thought we were all good in the hood. No, I thought FRP was over. It is over. It's important for you to understand. The FRP is over. Trust. With this silencer, after the FRP, it does not get back to FRP severity. That's good. But you are heating those annular cavities pretty efficiently, which is good in some sense, but super hot jetting direct from the blast chamber is doing that, so you're going to reach an equilibrium eventually, and it actually reached pretty quickly. It's almost in shot 3 that it's reached, and what does that do? Well, it drops the efficiency of the system after the shot 2, but it does stabilize relatively quickly. So is this could you consider this like a minor gripe, a minor technical nitpick? That stabilization, maybe you could say that's a minor gripe. Absolutely. I would say that's minor. But I want to give you a word of warning about something, and please heed this warning. And on not only as a consumer, but like as designers and competitors. If you think the suppression rating for this silencer is high now, imagine if they fix the FRP. I am telling you guys, this is their first try. And look, they're a client, so we published this, but I can tell you right now, the podcast is not part of this. Like, podcasts are not part of contracts at Pew Science. All right? We just do this to educate you. I am under no obligation to say anything on this podcast about the silencer at all. Like, contractually, I don't have to say anything. Like, really, you can ask all of our clients. We do not. Podcast is not written down anywhere. This is for you. I'm warning you all. If you think the suppression rating for the silencer is high now, imagine if the FRP was fixed. Be cognizant of it. Be cognizant of the implications. And I swear, if you see one of these silencers and you see how they did this, I bet some designers are going to be kicking themselves because the simplicity of this hybrid is so brilliant. And there's not a lot of things more sweet in the engineering world than brilliant simplicity. Look, let's go back to Q for a second. I'm not done. Cherry bomb. A lot of people hate it, right? Okay. I kind of do. I don't hate it. I just don't like it that much. But I'm a lunatic. Cherry bomb's not my favorite. But the designer who designed it is a smart gentleman or smart guy. And you know what? It didn't need wrench flats if it was installed right. It didn't. It didn't need a lot of weight if it was used how they intended it to be used. And when I say they, I mean the engineer who designed it. The taper angle is pretty smart. Why do you think Reardon copied it? Well, you think Reardon copied it because they just happened upon it? No, because it's smart. They wouldn't be copying it if it didn't work. The thread pitch is smart. They wouldn't copy that if it didn't work either. The whole thing's good enough for a lot of casual users. Yes, it's not the worst thing. And most of all, it's one of the most simplistic things ever. It's brilliant in its engineering simplicity. And the older silencers from Q that attach to it, Thunder Chicken, Trash Panda, we've talked about those ad nauseum. There's data on the website about them. Those are also brilliant in their simplicity. Cheap to make. Super cheap to make. Great with subsonic rounds. You know that. You know that. Severe FRP when you get a short version of the silencers, but you know that too. If you read our research, you know that too. But you know what you're getting when you get one of those things, right? If you take all the marketing BS out of the equation, ignore it, and you examine their systems completely objectively with no emotion, you will see brilliant engineering simplicity. You will, I promise. Are there improvements needed? Oh, you bet your butt there's improvements needed. They can be way better than they are. But for the original designer intent, I'm not talking about the marketing. I'm talking about the people who actually design it, the people who put pen to paper or mouse to and keyboard to screen or whatever. For the original designer intent, it's the definition of good enough for government work, dude. If you ask me, good enough, simple. They're engineers. They're just doing what they're asked. Get the project done. And they did. Now, are they marketed differently? Are they marketed to be the best thing since sliced bread? Well, yeah, and that's why so many people get mad at Q. Among other reasons, right? Because they lie. So that's the type of thing I think about when I look at what Centurion Arms did here. And why? Why am I comparing the seemingly incredible dichotomy? It's because I look at the Centurion design and it's so much more impressive to me because the engineering simplicity is more advanced. How's that for a seemingly contradictory statement? But it's not. There's a clear, greater understanding of compressible flow and shock physics in the Maximus-L than in a Trash Panda. And I think any reasonable technical person would agree with that. And if it's not a pure physics understanding. It's certainly a layman's understanding of the physical phenomena manifesting because of compressible flow and blast physics. So either way, the designer of this silencer did something much more advanced, but still in a simplistic way. And that is, to me, again, beautiful simplicity. And that's the future. Kind of. I mean, really, the future is hybrid designs in which what? You're relieving blast impulse accumulation in early time inside the first expansion chamber, and then what are you doing next? Because it's not just that. You got to efficiently control combustion propagation later in the stack. That is the future. Now, you can get high-speed, low-drag, Formula One, autistic supercomputer crazy, or you can try stuff like this too. Sometimes basic ideas, they bear tremendous fruit, and the fruit's sweet, dude. Now, imagine what you could do with second generation stuff of this particular silencer, or maybe what if they hired a blast physicist on staff? It'd be nasty, dude. Let's look at some more data. I'm just telling you, like, food for thought, right? I just wanted to, like, go through this, and I want to get you thinking big picture. I don't care what brand it is. Okay, you see this performance of the silencer. It's not about that. It's about the whole picture. Okay, so scroll down the article below Figure 2. There's like research notes and stuff. I think I explained this to you. Research note 1 is like telling you all about how things work, which is important. Research note 2 is FRP, and I talked about that. Oh, right. Research note 3 is performance stability. So, okay. Talked about that kind of something you need to know, and you're going to find out later because we did other testing for Monty in Centurion arms, is that on a longer barrel, FRP is not as bad. And so it's the Mark 18 that's really hammering this thing in a way, but it's still doing great. And so anyway, it's a lesson learned for the state of practice, and for Centurion. You don't know what you don't know at first, right? You just don't. Longer barrel seems to allow this thing to stabilize more too. FRP's better. Critical pressure input due to barrel length is a huge factor for silencer designs. I'm saying that as a blanket statement. And man, you could name a coefficient to characterize this if you had time. Wouldn't that be nice? That'd be the day. Research note 4 gives you some big takeaways. Let's echo some of those now. Third highest composite suppression rating on the gun in the rankings. Top 5 bystander protection. It's in the top 5 of that. It's top 10 of the shooter's ear. Okay. I'm telling you, dude, it's doing work. Low back pressure. Doing work in suppression. Advanced and elegantly simple. Okay, here's a treat. Members, I implore you, scroll down in your article. I know non-members, I told you I wasn't going to leave you behind. I'm not leaving you behind. I'm just going to tell you something. Members, 4B, figure 4B, in your full member version of the report, front-loaded FRP, textbook low ejection port blast behavior, smoking gun for you. And guys, when you combine figure 1B and figure 4B, you see that the only thing this could be is a hybrid. If we presented data to you blind and didn't tell you the silencer, you would have to tell me it's a hybrid. Right? That is correct. Think about it. If you have a question about why that is, email us, tech@pewscience.com. I'll help you understand what I just said. It's a serious conclusion, and you need to start to think about that. Okay, I could give you tests, and I can show you these plots without the silencer labeled, and a lot of you would be able to tell me what kind of silencer it is. Maybe you wouldn't be able to tell me the exact brand, but you could tell me what type of silencer it is, and remember we're in stage 5 or 6 or whatever of Pew Science I told you earlier. I'm telling you, dude. It's like late stage Pew Science or something. Scroll down, big bar chart, cumbersome. It's like ridiculous to read. It's like even on a desktop, it's like too big. Rankings table's better. It's better for you. I don't know. Who am I to tell you how to consume your data analysis? Look at whatever you want, but the bar chart's getting big. So gross conclusions are below the chart in the article. There's 5 of them. Read them. Use the rankings. I'm going to sum it all up for you right now. A big picture. If you use a short barrel AR-15 with a silencer and you're using an older silencer, you might want to start thinking about looking into new hybrid designs. But please be careful. Some hybrids are probably god-awful on the market. People have been showing lately some things going on. And why? It's because they're trying to put lipstick on a pig, dude. If you play your cards right, you can get a silencer that's outperforming older models in a way that you can't possibly imagine until you shoot it. If you're one of those people who says Supersonic 556 will never be hearing safe, it doesn't matter what silencer you use, or the people who think it's like they want to be a cool guy, so they're like, they try to be cool to other people by saying, oh, you don't need 90% of you just need any silencer and it'll be fine. Because they want to be cool and like they want to be like counterculture and like contrary, because it's not cool to be smart and like know technical stuff. So if you're cool and you say something stupid, you're like more cool. Like don't be like that, because it's a waste of your time and money, and it's actually compromising your safety. I want you to know that it's okay to be ignorant about a subject. And no one's going to judge you. How could we're all ignorant about certain things. You had to learn. I mean, that's the only way to move forward, right? But I would also say that if you're saying things like that, well, Supersonic 556 is never going to be hearing safe, so it doesn't matter what you use. That statement is completely nonsensical. It's irresponsible. It actually discounts several mechanisms of hazard reduction that you could personally enjoy if you would just read. Or just ask questions or pay attention. Like the decrease in ejection port blast signature alone is so real, dude. Like peak decibel reading doesn't tell you anything. Like despite what some people keep trying to pretend, like make-believe fairy dust time needs to end, dude. Peter Pan is not a kid forever. Like you wake up. We're all adults. If you lower the duration of a blast overpressure pulse out of an orifice near your face, and you only look at the peak blast pressure from all the sources of that location, why on God's green earth would you think that would be meaningful when you've lowered duration? Why are you looking at the peak if you lowered the duration? You're in the wrong. You're looking at the wrong quantity. Like at the very least, by getting a modern design, you're going to have less toxic gases in your face. That's good. Even when you shoot fast, that's good. You're going to have less blast overpressure reflections near your surfaces, like your car, like your buildings, like your range awning, like the tree line when you're hunting coyotes. Your gun's going to run better. Your buddy and your dog aren't going to be blasted to Kingdom Come with your signature all the time when you're shooting next to them. There's so many benefits to having an advanced silencer on a 5.56 gun. Just ignore the noise of these naysayers. I see people, they're bad influences. Don't hang out with bad people. Man, it's like those type of people, you're going to get in trouble. They're going to go to detention and take you with them. Okay. Use the data analysis, man. Ask us questions, email us, join Pew Science as a pro member, email me. Talk to me, man. Ask me, let me help you. I'm not doing this for my health, man. I'm doing it for you. I'm trying to help. Or don't ask us, but read or don't read. I don't know. Centurion Arms Maximus-L. It's the latest in a growing pedigree of hybrids from all kinds of different companies. Like, you want brand loyalty? Like, you came to the wrong place, dude. Like, you're thinking of silencer dealer. You're thinking of manufacturer. All those people who, they're on anonymous internet accounts talking mess about, that's not what this is. This is, we don't sell them. We don't sell the silencers. We don't design the silencers. We don't make the silencers. We just help you understand them. We're trying to solve this riddle for everybody. The Maximus-L is less than a pound. It's kind of the size of an RC2. It makes the RC2 irrelevant, like many other silencers have already. There you go, man. That's it. Go shoot one. Tell me what you think. The analysis is right. Use it. Love it. Okay? We'll be back next week with more. Going to give you more. There's more things. It's crazy. You're going to get compare and contrast. It's the game's elevating. I'm telling you. This is not stopping. Okay? We're an hour in. Yeah, that was a big 30-minute diatribe on... This is pretty technical, actually. That's all we have time for. I'll have to talk to you more about the testing we've been doing recently next week. It's going to be a wild year. We're just getting started. Quarter one is concluding. which has been gangbusters. Quarter 2 begins soon, and I would ask you to buckle up. I will talk with you folks again next week. Okay? Please stay safe.